Hi, I'm Christine. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to chat about the best romances of 2023 according to Goodreads, Amazon, and you, my fellow readers. All right, so it is now mid-November and the Goodreads Choice Awards have already come out. People have been doing reaction videos to those, and I didn't want to just focus on the Goodreads Awards because I think we all know that every year they kind of disappoint us all. It's really a popularity contest and they don't really show a ton of diversity, whether with their authors, their titles, all of those things. It's mostly the books that have been popular throughout the year, that have been pushed to all of us, that we've seen advertised, have had great marketing, have gotten those book of the month deals, like all of those that have big publishers usually behind them is just how it kind of goes, especially in the romance category. So I kind of wanted to touch on those, but then also the next day, Amazon put out their top 20 romances of 2023. So I wanted to talk about those as well, because while there are some that are the same on both lists, we also have a little bit more diversity as far as the titles, the authors, the representation in the books. So I definitely want to chat about those. And I know that we're all kind of like generally disappointed with the book choices as far as Goodreads. The Amazon one, like possibly they're a little bit better on theirs. But then I wanted to ask readers as well, like my friends, people who follow me on Instagram, people who follow me here on YouTube, like I asked in my community tab, for your favorite romances that published in 2023. So I want to react to those as well and chat about them, I should say, because I know what they are already. So I'm not like reacting, but I'm going to chat about them, if that makes sense. So I wanted to do some more of these kind of chatty videos. I did one recently where I chatted about all of the book series that I'm currently in the middle of or that I still need to read. So I thought this would be another fun one to do and just kind of reacting and chatting about the best romances of 2023, according, of course, to Goodreads, Amazon, and then you, the reader. So yeah, I wanted to just chat about them kind of, casually. So let's get into it. So first up, we're going to chat about the Goodreads Choice Awards. So again, there are 20 of them currently. The nominations, the first round just opened up on November 14th. It goes for maybe a week or two, and then I think they're going to cut it down to the final 10 that you then vote on. So we are going to jump into it. I will just say off of the 20 nominations, I have read 11 of these. So let's get into it. So I'm just going to go off of here. They kind of randomize the list of what you see every time you go into it. So first up, I'm seeing Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. I did really enjoy this one. I gave it 5 stars back when I read an arc of it earlier in the year. This one was a book of the month choice. Like I said, they definitely showcase a lot of book of the month romances, which some of those aren't always romance heavy. Like they have romances, but this one especially is more women's fiction with a romance in it. That's just kind of how Catherine Center's books are written. I love them. They're a great time. I just have to know going in, or like I have to be in the mood for them before I read them, but I do really enjoy them. This one in particular, I really did enjoy it. So this one, the heroine is a portrait artist and she is up for this big break, or what she sees as a big break in her artist career. And right before that, she gets into an accident, and at the hospital, she finds out that she has something wrong with her brain, and they end up doing a surgery that will fix it. But when she wakes up from the surgery, she realizes that she has temporary, possibly temporary facial blindness, where she cannot like put together a face when she looks at people. So she has to deal with that while kind of gearing up and doing her like big portrait showcase for the competition that she's in. So that's definitely gonna mess her up, mess up her career. Like she draws faces for a living and now she cannot see any. So it gets complicated. Also kind of this struggle of her dealing with her stepmother and her stepsister and her father, kind of some family complication stuff. Like I said, there is a romance in here as well, which I really did love it. I just love the overall story for this heroine. So yeah, I did love this one. I wouldn't say it's like the best romance of 2023, but alas, here we are. Next up is A Long Time Coming by Megan Quinn. So this one I haven't read. I've read quite a few of her backlist, but I mean, she has so many books, so I definitely haven't read even close to probably half of them at this point. This one I think is more a rom-com. I believe she's been picked up by a publisher. This might be one of the books that has been picked up, because while they do showcase indie romance authors or authors that started off as indie romance authors, they usually only showcase on the Goodreads Choice Awards like indie authors who have then been picked up by publishers. Not sure what that's about, but that's what they seem to do. So yeah, I haven't read this one. Not sure if I will. Like I have to be in the mood for kind of her rom-com style, and kind of the more emotional, less rom-com ones are the ones that work for me. So we will see. Next up is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. So even though this says like romantic comedy in the title, I had no idea this was even a romance. I don't think it is. I think it's more lit fic, but I don't know. It's on the list. I know it was a book of the month pick, and I have no interest in this one, so let's move on. Next up is The 7 Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I am so excited that this one made the list. I love this one so much. One of my favorites of the year. Gave this one 5 stars. So Ashley Poston's books, her last 2 books in particular, I have really loved. They both have kind of this element of magical realism to them. And in this one, the heroine inherits an apartment / a house that can magically slip through time. So she ends up falling back into time, finding somebody who is the hero. They kind of fall for one another. But then she also slips back into current day. And so this is dealing with 7 years in the past. So yeah, it kind of goes from there, and I loved this one so much. One of my favorite reads of the year. Glad to see it on here. Next up is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I did not like this one. I read this one back at the beginning of the year. Not for me. I don't think this author's for me. Hers are classified as romance, I guess, but they're more kind of that women's fiction line as well. I didn't enjoy this one. Basically in this one, the heroine had some complications with her mother, and she ends up inheriting, like, her mom had these like lakefront properties or something. So she goes there, and then when she's there, she meets the hero who was kind of like doing renovations or something along those sorts there. He knew her mom. She had a complicated history with her mom. Kind of goes from there. Didn't love it. Haven't really enjoyed either books from this author, so I'm probably not going to be picking up her books again. But here we go. Next up is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I actually did enjoy this one. I've read all of Ali's books. This one's actually my favorite of her books. So there's that. I know also though people who liked her first 2 books didn't really love this one. So I don't know, take that for what it is. Not surprised to see this on here. I think all of her books have made the list. This is her newest release of this year. This was a book of the month pick. Like, not surprised it's on here. I did enjoy this one though and gave it 5 stars. Basically, all of her books have heroines in STEM, and in this one, no different. The hero though was different from her other heroes in the past. Like, a lot of her books are kind of cookie cutter. They follow the same mold, the same like fanfic I think that she writes all the time. So this one was a little different as far as the hero. He is one who is more outspoken and tells the heroine what's up. He calls her out on things, like he lets her know how he feels. So I did really enjoy that. So yeah, love this one. Gave it 5 stars. Maybe not a favorite of the year for me, but it is my favorite from this author. All right, next is Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. Again, not surprised to see her book on here. I think she's been on here the past 2 years with her books. This book, I believe, is part of a series from this author, and I have not read it. I read one of her books years ago, didn't enjoy it, so I've never wanted to pick up any of her books. So I know people love her. I'm just not one of them. Next, again, not surprised to see this author duo on here, Christina Lauren with The True Love Experiment. This was their newest release this year. I have read this one. It was okay. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. And it basically follows the heroine in a dating show competition, and the hero is one of the producers for the dating competition, and it's their romance. So we have that kind of like bachelorette style of show as well going on. This one was okay. I really loved Christina Lauren's books in the past, and their newer stuff hasn't worked for me always as well. It was okay, like not a best for me. Again, this one was a book of the month pick as well. Just noting how many book of the month picks are on this list. All right, number 10 is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is the newest release from this author. Again, not surprised to see it on the list. Her books, I think, have made and possibly won for the past few years. So we will see. This one is her newest, like I said. I've read this one. I didn't love it. It's probably my least favorite from her. Basically in this one, the hero and the heroine, they were engaged for years, and them and their friends always had this like thing where they'd go on vacations together and meet up at this place / their happy place. And so one of their friends' parents owns the place and they're selling it. And so the friends decide to do this like one last hurrah, all go there and meet like they used to meet, you know, after college, after big things in their lives. And so now that they're older, they kind of haven't done it as much, but they decide to all go for this like one last hurrah there. And so the couple, they're actually split up now. They're no longer engaged, no longer together, but they haven't told any of their friends. So now they have to pretend that they're still in love, still together for the time they're with their friends. Kind of goes from there. The couple, I will say, I really liked the hero and the couple's angst between them. We just didn't get enough of it. And it was more of a focus on like the heroine, what she's doing in life, finding her happiness, their friends. I wanted like less of that and more of their relationship I really enjoyed. So yeah, it was okay. Like not a favorite for me. Next up is King of Pride by Anna Huang. This is the second book in her Kings of Sin series. I actually just recently caught up on this series and finally read it. This one I didn't really love, sadly. I know a lot of friends who love this book and it didn't really work for me. This is book 2 in the series. I wish King of Greed was on here because that's the third newest book out. It's probably like too new to make the list, but I absolutely loved that one so much. One of my favorite romances of the year. Wish it was on this list, but I am glad to see Anna's books on here in general. So yeah, King of Pride. Next up is Pucking Around by Emily Rath. I was surprised to see this one on here. This is a Why Choose hockey romance that blew away TikTok and Instagram and things earlier this year. I still need to read it. I started it back in the summer and kind of set it down and didn't get back into it. So I need to like start it over and finally get to it. Glad to see this one on here. I love a hockey romance, so I'm excited to get to this one soon. Next up is Powerless by Elsie Silver. This is part of her Chestnut Springs series. I was surprised to see this book on the list. I knew that Elsie would probably be on the list, but I didn't think it would be for this book. I did love this one. Basically in here we have Jasper and Sloane, I want to say. Pretty sure those are their names. I've read so many of her books this year. This is a friends to lovers. We have a little bit of a road trip moment. Definitely enjoyed this one. I just love the whole like Chestnut Springs series in general, so glad to see Elsie on here. Next is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I've never read this author. I believe their romances are closed door, which I don't have a problem with, but they're not just ones that I always naturally gravitate towards. I have heard great things about this author, so I might check it out. I think I do actually have the Libby hold out for this one. I'm waiting for it to come in, so I might get to it and we will see how it goes. Let me know if you've read this author. Next up, this one was a book of the month pick again. So this is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. This is a debut romance. I'm actually excited to get to this one. I have a Libby holdout for this one as well, and it's been taking forever, so hopefully it comes in before the end of the year. But this one I know it's like When Harry Met Sally kind of references and vibes, so I do love that movie and I'm excited to check this one out. Like a debut romance author, I'm always excited to check them out. Next up is In the Likely Event by Rebecca Yarros. Honestly surprised to see this book on the list. I hated this book, did not like it. It came out earlier this summer, I want to say. Was not a fan. Basically, it is a military romance. Feels like it was supposed to be published or written like 10 years ago with kind of the topics and themes going on. Deals with the Afghanistan war. Not my vibe, not for me. Hated it. Like, no thank you. Next up is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. So excited to see this one on here. I love this book, gave it 5 stars. This again was a book of the month pick, but I love this one. I've read all of Abby's books and this one is definitely a new favorite. This will probably be on my list for my favorite books of the year. So I'm so excited. The hero in this one is so sweet and so precious. He needs to be protected and cherished and loved forever. I loved it so much. It deals with anxiety. I believe we have some fake dating in here. Like, I love this one so much. They are co-workers as well. They're both doctors. I love this one. I'm so glad to see it on the list. All right, and then we have The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. I am so excited to see this one on here. This is one of my favorite reads of 2023. I love this book so much. It's so good. Ryan Shea forever. Like, say less. I loved this book. If you haven't read it, you definitely need to. And here, the hero is a basketball star, and he ends up having to live with / become roommates with his sister's best friend. She moves in with him, and it is just so good. One of the best heroes of the year. Definitely love this one. Glad to see it on the list. Next up is Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This one, I believe, is the last book in her Dreamland Billionaires series. I think that's the name of the series. It's the series with like the first book is The Fine Print. So I haven't read this one. I did read The Fine Print a couple years ago when it came out. Didn't really love it, so I didn't continue on in the series, but I have heard like books 2 and 3 are better. So maybe I'll continue on. Let me know if it's worth it and if you read this one. Then we have Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I think this author had another book that was super popular, like Icebreaker, I want to say. Could be wrong there. I haven't heard the best things about this book, which I don't know. I might get to it. I do have the audio out from Libro FM, so we will see if I get to it. I haven't heard the best things though, so let me know if you've read it, if you like this author. Then lastly on the Goodreads Choice Awards is The Long Game by Elena Armas. This is the newest book from this author. I haven't read any of her books, but I know her books make the list, I think, every year. I don't think her books would be for me. I haven't heard the greatest things about this one. I believe one of the characters is a soccer star. That's all I kind of know, and I heard a lot of friends didn't love it, so I didn't make it a priority. So yeah, there's that. So those are the Goodreads Choice Awards. Like I said, I've read 11 of them. I think there's only like 3 on here that I would possibly read. So Pucking Around by Emily Rath, I do want to get to that one. Why Choose Hockey? Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. That one's a maybe. I do have the audio holdout for whenever that shows up. I might check it out, check out that author. And then You Again by Kate Goldbeck. I do have an audio holdout for that one as well from my library. I do want to check it out because I do like trying out like debut romance authors. So those are probably the only 3 that I'd read. Maybe Final Offer by Lauren Asher, but not sure. So then on to the Amazon top 20 romances of the year. I tried to figure out how they came up with this list and I have no idea. I thought it was based off of like sales or rankings, but there are plenty of authors who I know and books who would have been on this list if they would have gone by that, and they're not. So I have no idea how they came up with this list. Let me know if you know how they came up with this. Like, I'd love to know. But in here, we do have some crossover of similar books. We also get a little bit more of variety as well. So basically in here, we have 5 that are the same as the Goodreads romances that they said were the best of 2023. We have 3 authors that are featured on both Goodreads and Amazon, but have different books. So that's interesting. Of this list, I have read 10 of them, so let's go through it. We have Things We Left by Lucy Score. This is part of that series where she has a different book on the Goodreads Choice Awards list. Haven't read this one. I probably won't. There's that. So then for spots 2 and 3, not surprised to see these on here, are Fourth Wing and then Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I actually read an arc of Fourth Wing back before it came out, before the hype was all going on for it. I was really excited for it. Didn't love it, and sadly, the longer it has been since I read it, I like it less and less. So there is that. I know there's a huge hype around it though, and that people love it, so I am glad for them. Iron Flame, I have no plans to read this one, and I've heard from people who've already read it that they don't even love it as much as they liked Fourth Wing, so there is that. Not surprised these are on the list, but they're not for me. All right, number 4, we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. Already talked about that one. That's on Goodreads Choice Awards as well. Number 5, we have Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This one I'm excited to see on here. This is actually her newest book, which is a whole new start of a new series. I need to get back into it because I did start the audio of it back when it came out last week, and I need to just jump back into it. I had some other reads come up that I didn't, have the time to get to it. So I need to do that. I've heard great things and that people really love it. So I'm excited that that one's on here. And the next one we have The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. Again, this one's on the Goodreads Choice Awards list. Love it. Glad to see it here. We have Hello Stranger by Catherine Senner, another one that's on Goodreads Choice Awards as well. We have Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. Again, this one was on the Goodreads Choice Awards. Not surprised. Then at number 9, we have King of Greed by Anna Huang. So this one, they have King of Pride on the Goodreads Choice Awards list, and they have her newest book, King of Greed, on this one. Love to see it. I love this book so much. It's one of my favorite reads of the year. I just read it like a couple nights ago, and I'm obsessed. Like, it is a marriage in trouble, second chance romance, billionaire hero, the groveling, like the entire book is a grovel, and I loved it so much. So angsty, so emotional. Definitely recommend. Like, my favorite book from Anna in general. So yeah, so glad to see it on here. Then we have Forget Me Not by Julie Soto. I didn't love this one, sadly. I think I gave it 3 stars when I read it back in the spring. Love the cover so much. I know it's a debut romance. I have heard mixed feelings. Like, I know friends who love it and it's their favorite of the year. And I know other people who are like, it was okay. That's kind of where I am for it. So yeah. Then number 11 is Shadows of You by Catherine Cowles. This is the recent release, book 4 in her Lost and Found series. So excited to see this on here and to see Catherine on a list. I love this series so much. If you love romantic suspense, definitely check out this one. I wish it was Echoes of You because I love that book even more, and it also came out this year, but I'm glad to see her on the list regardless. Next up is The Art of Scandal by Regina Black. I have heard amazing things about this book. I think it's a debut. It's actually on my Libby audio hold, and I'm waiting for the audiobook to come in so I can get to it. So yeah, let me know if you've read it. I've heard it is so good. I know so many friends who love it as well, so I'm excited to see that one on here. Then we have Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon. I did read this one, didn't love it. I've read all of this author's romances that's come out in the past few years, and this one was my least favorite. Really did not enjoy it, so I'm surprised it's even on here, but alas, here we go. All right, then we also have Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. That was on the Goodreads Choice Awards as well. And then the last 6 books on this list are ones that I haven't really heard of, so I am going to chat about them. First up is The Marriage Auction by Audrey Carlin. This one I have never even heard of. I had to look it up. So basically this says it's a Kindle Vella phenomenon with over 2 million reads, and this saga has ranked number 1 for over a year as America's favorite serial read. So that is super interesting. I've never heard of it. I'm not a Kindle Vella person, so apparently a lot of people are though, with over 2 million reads. That's wild. Basically, it says that this one follows 4 new couples beginning their love lives. So that's super interesting. It almost seems kind of like soap opera-ish, like following all these different couples and stories and having this kind of saga. I don't know. I've never heard of it. Let me know if you've been reading it. Next up is The Build-Up by Toddy Richardson. This one says it's a debut from a Romance in Color podcast co-host who is now an author. It's a workplace romance, plus-size heroine. This one actually sounds really good. Might have to add this and download this one because it sounds really good. Let me know if you've read it. Then we have The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I see these covers a lot. Not really for me. Yeah, it says it's rom-com, friends, lovers, fake dating. Rom-com I don't usually gravitate towards, but I'm not surprised it's kind of on here. I feel like I see it a lot on the best sellers list and things like that. I know it's really popular, or this author is, so there we go. Next is Drag to the Wedding by Andrew Gray. Never heard about this one, so it says it's a laugh out loud romance. One hero's a cop and needs a date to his sister's wedding. His family doesn't know he's gay and he wants to keep it that way, so he ends up fake dating / hiring the queen of the local Chicago drag scene. So I've never heard of that author or this book, but that one sounds fun. If you're in the mood for a rom-com, and maybe check it out. Next is The Blonde Identity by Allie Carter. I feel like I saw this one a lot on the Kindle sales, top of the list for a while. It never pulled my attention though. So basically it says it's a rom rom-com road trip. Heroine has amnesia. She discovers she's the twin sister of a spy, and she ends up teaming up with a rugged, grumpy operative to stay alive. So there we go. A lot of rom-coms on this list. And then the last one is Tastes Like Shakar by Nisha Sharma. Okay, so this is the follow-up to Dating Dr. Dill, which I read last year and had a good time with. I didn't even realize that this was in the same series. Like, the covers look totally different. Didn't know this book came out. Now I want to read it. Like, I'm going to go grab the audiobook today. Because, yeah, I didn't realize we had another book in this series. So that has me super excited. So those are the Amazon Best Romances of 2023. Like I said, I read 10 of them. So kind of the same as the Goodreads. Like, I had read 11 of those. So kind of like half and half for both. All right, so then I asked readers, friends, people who follow me on Instagram and YouTube as well of what their favorite romances published in 2023 were. So I have about 20 from all of you as well. So we're going to go through them. So first up is Butcher and Blackbeard by Bryn Weaver. This is actually on my immediate TBR. I've been wanting to get to it for a while now. This one has serial killers. I believe it's like a darker rom-com style, kind of like that dark, witty rom-com that I love. So I cannot wait to check it out. I've loved this author. I've read 2 of her books already. So I'm really excited to get to this one. The other ones were more dark, where this one I think is more like fun. So I'm excited either way and can't wait to jump into it. I'll probably actually get to it this weekend. All right, and then we have The Right Move by Liz Tom Ford. Totally agree. One of my favorites of the year as well. We have The Graham Effect by Elle Kennedy. So excited to see this one on here. I just read it this week and loved it so much. It is a spin-off / second generation story of her hockey romance series, Off Campus series, and the Briar U series. These are their children's stories, and I had such a great time with this one and loved it so much. And this one, the heroine and the hero both play hockey, and the heroine is the daughter of the couple of The Deal. And I love this one. Like, it brought all the nostalgia. I loved the connection and chemistry between the hero and the heroine. Loved seeing the heroine on the ice playing hockey. Just so good. Loved it so much. Then we have Shadows of You by Catherine Cowles. Talked about that one already. Echoes of You by Catherine Cowles. Yes, please. Love it so much. One of my favorites of the year. One of my favorite Catherine Cowles books. I love this one to pieces. It is so good. I actually kind of want to reread it. Like, it's so good. It's going to be on my favorites of the year list as well. We have The Wolf and the Wildflower by Stacey Reed. This is one of her many new releases that she released this year. This is the first one she did. I did read this one. It was okay for me. I didn't super love it. Like, it was just okay. Wanted a little bit more. Basically, in here, it's a historical romance where the heroine has lived her entire life dressed as a man. Her mom actually raised her as a boy from birth. Her father doesn't even know that she's really a girl. Underneath it all, she's a doctor with her father. He's like a psychologist. Hero is actually a duke who's been missing for over a decade. People assume he's actually dead, but he comes back. He's been living in the Canadian wilds on his own, up on a mountain. He comes back and can't really fit into society like he's used to being alone. So his mom ends up hiring the heroine and her father as psychologists to come and kind of help him and get him reacclimated to society life. So it is their romance. Next up is Bad Intentions by Mila Kane. I've actually never heard of this author before, so I looked it up. This one says it's high school bully, enemies to lovers, good girl, bad boy. He's a hockey star. She's the coach's daughter, and off limits. Let me know if you have read this author or this book as well. That one actually sounds kind of like a good time. Then we also have The Favorite by Alice Coldbreath. I actually love this author. She writes historical romances. I actually just recently started the first book in this series, which is Wed by Proxy. But this book, The Favorite, is the 6th book in her Brides of Caradoc series. So yeah, they're historical romances and they're medieval, so I really enjoy them. Check it out. I think most of her books are on Hoopla as well for audios, so definitely recommend. Next up is Dom by S.G. Tilley. I want to get to this one immediately. I first heard about it like right before I went to Vegas last month, and then the author was there as well. I regret not going to her table and getting this book, but maybe I'll see her again in the future. I definitely want to read it. It's a mafia romance. I've heard it is amazing, unhinged, wild, possessive hero. Like, yes, please. I want to read the entire series. And somebody said King of Greed by Anna Wong. Totally agree. Love it so much. Already chatted about that one. We have Jasper Vale by Devney Perry. I actually forgot that this book came out this year, but it did come out in January of 2023. This is book 4, I think, in the Edens series, which I really enjoy. Love the series so much. It's small town Montana. This one, I believe, is like a Vegas marriage, and then they kind of have to make it work and all of those things. And I did like this one as well. Not my favorite in the series, but I know this one did come out this year. So we have Paladin by Onley James. This one says it's the first in the Jericho's Boys, which is a spinoff from the Necessary Evils series. By day, the hero is a mechanic. By night, a video game, live streamer, and player. Sometimes he's a serial killer, romance. I've actually been wanting to read the Necessary Evils series by this author for probably over a year now. I need to get to them and then maybe jump into this spinoff as well. It sounds super good. This one had a few entries. So this is Forever Your Rogue by Erin Langston. This one's been on my TBR for a while too. I just need to get to it. The audio finally came out, so I think I'm going to read it probably this coming week. I cannot wait. Historical romance. I've heard nothing but amazing things for it. The cover is stunning and gorgeous. Indie historical. Cannot wait to get to it. Next is The Tragedy of Felix and Jake by J. Daniels. I've never read this author before, so this one says it's the author's first romance, friends to lovers, emotional, handles addiction recovery. Might check that out when I'm in the mood for like an emotional, hard-hitting romance. That sounds actually pretty good. Then I had a few entries for this one as well, which is The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shoup. This is the last book in her Fifth Avenue Rebels series. I did like this one. I actually read it in 2022, so that's why I forgot it came out in 2023. I had an arc of it. But yeah, it is a great one where we finally see the hero, the Duke of Lockwood, finally get his story after seeing him featured kind of throughout the series. So yeah, this one is a fun, a very spicy time. Joanna Shoup, I love her historicals. I've read them all. Definitely recommend. The next step is Before Us by Julie Ann, and this person said that recommending one that I'm pretty sure you haven't read yet. So yeah, I have not read this one. So this is a slow burn emotional and after the loss of a spouse. So that's super interesting, and I'm kind of intrigued. Like, I'm not against those type of romances, so I kind of want to check it out. Let me know if you've read it. Next is What We Broke by Marley Valentine. I loved this one too. Came out earlier this year and it is so good, so emotional. romance, marriage in trouble. Love it so much. Like, I had such a good time with this one. I've been reading Marley's books this year and just been devouring them all. Like, they're all so good and so emotional and they hit so right. Next is Return to Monte Carlo by Casey Wells. I love this author. I've been reading her other books, the werewolf shifter ones with like the rejected mate trope, eating those up and devouring them. I do want to get to this one because this one is not paranormal. It says it is a runaway wife, marriage in trouble, surprise baby, set in the 1980s. What? Age gap, he's older and rich. Ooh, this sounds really, really good. I love marriage and trouble romances so much. The last two were both marriage and trouble recs, and like I just read King of Greed earlier this week and loved it. Like, I'm actually going to be filming a marriage and trouble romance rec video soon because I love them. Then lastly is Until I Saw You by Diana Roman. This one says it starts off in an abusive relationship. Romance of Survival and Healing. Ooh, another emotional one. So I kind of want to check that one out. I've never heard of this book or this author. So those are the best romances of 2023 according to Goodreads, Amazon, and you, the reader. Thanks so much to everybody who sent in a favorite read for me on Instagram and here on my YouTube community tab. Loved seeing these so much. There's definitely more that I've added to my TBR now that I want to get to. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you enjoy these kind of more chatty videos, if you agree or disagree with any of these books that are apparently the best romances of 2023. I'm laughing and putting these in quotes because I feel like that's kind of goes with any of our favorite books or best of anything. Like, they're going to be dependent on the person and our own feelings and thoughts and opinions. So that's kind of just how it goes. Like, I just kind of roll with it. So yeah, let me know in the comments or let me know what your favorite romances of 2023 have been if I didn't talk about it. Again, books published in 2023, I would love to know. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. If you haven't done so, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I'll see you in my next one.